Hello. It is 4:35 on the afternoon of the 20th of September 2024. So they tell us. This is my channel, the Self-Preservation Society. I'm Basil, broadcasting Truth and Therapy, BBTT, and here I am using the talking stick. And you'll be watching this on you. For those of you watching this on YouTube, you missed my last one because I featured some music. So if you want to look at that or anything else I've done, go in the description box below. Indeed, wherever you're watching, the description box below, and you'll find a link to my main BitChute channel where the entirety of my work is, or the messages that I bring. And feel free to peruse them at will and share if it resonates with you. But anyway, I'm going to start like this. I was in a conversation with Anoush the other day, and I can't remember exactly why I come up with this, but I come up with this, and Anoush liked it. Is my take on it. The Lakota use the word Wakonton, or the words Wakontonka Tonka Sheila. Grandfather, great mystery. It translates to. And for me, the great mystery is, as in John 10:34, I tell thee, ye are all gods. We all have that creative power on a soul level, and we give it away. I don't care if you're black, white, yellow, red, reptilian, insectoid, reptoid, draconian, whatever. If you have a conscious state of being, or did have, and give it away for the pleasures of the spirit, then that's where it all lies. And it's just not the pleasures of the spirit, is it? It's the pleasures of the flesh. I was listening to Morgue the other day, Morgue, and he was doing a presentation about Jesus and how he finds that this figure that we know as Jesus was the perfect balance of the masculine, feminine energies. And whatever they represent to you, whatever you see them as, are you the perfect balance of them? And if you're not, then at best you're controlled by your ego and your mind, and at worst you're controlled by your ignorance. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I know some of you will disagree, as you have a right to, because we are all at different stages on our own soul's journey, which may or may not relate to another soul. And I'm mindful of that. It is frustrating, and it might be frustrating for you from your perspective, this, that, and the other, that people don't see things as you do, understand things as you do. That's the trials of life, is it not? It's the trials of life. And many other trials to life. I've been listening to a pastor today on Facebook Reels. And the first time I listened to him, he spoke about these fucking American preachers that, live the high life, and this, that, and the other, because of the donations they receive, and, whether it be Armani suits, fucking great houses, security, limousines they drive around in, and well, bloody jets, some of them. And he said, he was saying, Jesus didn't have all that. His disciples didn't have all that. So why should you, that claim to be speaking for God, this God, whoever this God is to you, have all those material niceties, as it were? If you're truly walking, this God-fearing path, then what are you doing having and rejoicing in all these material wealths and whatever? And I've been saying this for a long time, especially about spiritual mediums. There's, so-called spiritual mediums using their spiritual gifts. They never fucking gift them. Very rarely do you see them gift them, yet claim to be a spiritual medium and using their spiritual gifts. I don't claim to be a spiritual medium, but I do gift those gifts that I've had, have had for the best part of 40 years. I gift them to people. If they want to gift me something back, then that's lovely. I accept it with the same humility and grace that I offer my gifts to them to empower, enlighten and enable. It is a really pressing question of our time. This thing and called money and how it controls us in whichever way, shape or form that it does. If we can get away from that, then we're well on the way to changing everything. Us as Homo sapiens sapiens, human beings, are the only species that dwell on this planet amongst all the animal kingdom, the birds, the fish, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom and everything else. We're the only species as Homo sapiens sapien, human beings, that pay to live on the planet. Do you know why? Because we don't pay attention. The animals pay attention to that which they need in order that they may live. We pay attention to that which we need to make a living. It's friggin' brilliant. Friggin' brilliant. And that same pastor in another reel was talking about his childhood, one of 8 children. And he was talking about Christmas and his grandmother. And his grandmother would buy him and his 7 siblings a present each. Every Christmas, this, that, the other. And then she would say to this pastor, his name is Terry, say to Terry, in earshot of everybody else, come over my house and see me. And one of his sisters said to their grandmother, Grandma, why'd you do that? Why'd you always ask Terry to come over and see you? Why don't you treat us all the same? And she replied, because Terry comes to see me and talk to me when he don't want nothing. And Terry, the pastor, was using that story as an analogy to people that pray to God, their God, whoever their God is. Generally only go to God when you want something. When you want something. And it's true. It's true. This afternoon I've had this conversation on the phone with somebody, and I'm not going to give too any personal details away. But I rung them and they never answered. And I put the phone down, turned my phone off, and I went to bed for an hour. I have to every afternoon because I don't sleep well at night. Anyway, when I got up, there was a message from them saying, sorry, I've got company here, and they'd obviously sent this message in response to my phone call. So I left it another hour or so, then I phoned them up. No, I sent them a text, and I said, I only phoned because you said you were going to call me back the other day, and you didn't, so I'm phoning out because I was concerned. And then they rang me, and we had this conversation. And the reason they said they were going to phone me back the other day, because I had some news to share with them. Do you think that come up in the conversation from them? Not at all. All about them. That's happening. And funny enough, it was about going to the doctors. Ain't got her blood pressure tablets because of the wars going on. So I said, knowing full well they have access to the internet. Have you not looked up for that? No, I've been with the Health Service all my life. This, that, and the other. Fear, ignorance, lack of self-responsibility, lack of self-awareness, lack of self-belief. Don't do anything for yourself when somebody else can do it for you. And so there was nowhere to go with that conversation at all. But this person never rings me to see how I am, this, that and the other. The last time they actually rung me before today was much earlier in the year. Much earlier in the year. Because they wanted to borrow some money. Which I come across with and, lend to me. This, that and the other. But that's the only time this person rings me up. How many of you, no ego, think about it, how many of you can resonate with what I'm saying? And equally, how many of you are guilty of only talking to people when you want something? How many of you actually have a conversation with yourself when you need something? And seek to do it yourself instead of reaching outside of you and asking somebody else, asking God or the doctor or whoever. It's the questions I'm raising today. And I'd like you to pay attention to them, to think about what I'm saying, and be honest with yourself. Not just about, how we judge people, and we've got a right to judge people. I said that in an upload in my first year broadcasting on BitChute. Who are we to judge? Well, I am for a fucking start. If I see where harm, loss or injury is caused, I will judge against that. I don't care who's doing it. And I'm not frightened of being judged. I've said that before. If I may have let somebody down or caused them harm, loss or injury, I'm not frightened of being judged. Because I like to be put on the right path. And if I need help doing that, then I freely accept it. I might not have done quite a few years ago. And I'll hold my hands up to that. But I do now. That same person I was talking about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, after COVID, experienced a trauma in her life. I was made aware of that trauma and I went to visit her. She told me 6 months later that she'd already taken some pills that day, and if I hadn't turned up, she was taking some more and continued to take them until she left or passed. So she credits me with saving her life. Surely that in itself deserves a phone call every now and again to see how I am. But there you go. That's how people are. But when she was experiencing that trauma, and I'm not going to go into it, I went down there and continued to go down there talking to her. As I say, she said I saved her life that day, and I continued to go down there. I've since learnt that she was wholly and utterly responsible for what she experienced. She brought it upon herself. I never see it at the time, and I've never not mentioned it to her purposefully, because she's got to come to her own awareness about it. But in siding with her in the way that I did and being there, then I'd done a disservice to somebody really close to me. I've since put that right. When new knowledge and awareness comes to me, then I've put it right, apologised profusely, humbly, sincerely, and made good. What that person does with that is entirely up to them. What this other person does, coming to awareness of their own karmic debt, is entirely up to them. And as much as it peeves me, A, about being sucked in by their lies, and B, how I, in doing so, done a disservice to somebody else. As much as it peeves me, if this person is ready to face the consequences of their actions, then I'll be there for them. I'll be there for them, because so many have been there for me over the course of my lifetime here when I've wronged and whatever, and show me the error of my ways and help me to understand that lesson, that journey, this, that and the other. And I'll do it for anyone. Do it for anyone. Until such a time comes as they're not listening still, perhaps they never will. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away and know when to run. The pleasures of the spirit and the pleasures of the flesh, when we allow them to take precedent over our conscious state of being and awareness, we will forever be held captive by those pleasures in the prison of the mind and the ego and the spirit. You'll never be free. All the while, the mind, the ego, or the spirit controls you. You'll never be free. You'll never taste freedom. You'll never know what freedom is until you can transcend all that to a conscious state of awareness and being. Some people call it the 5D, and they talk about it a lot. It's much more than that, people. And I say that with humility, sincerity and honesty. It's much more than that. If all you ever hope to do is ascend to the 5D, you'll be no better off than what you are here now. Or any other dimension that you care to mention. And sit there. You've got to be aware that you are all that was, is, and ever will be. And all those dimensions, individually and collectively, are within you. And you understand this. Seek to understand it. Seek to comprehend it. Seek to be it. Then you will experience freedom. You will sense it. You will feel it. You will know it. And you will never, ever want to go back to being a slave. Like that figure did in the Matrix trilogy. You'll want to be like Neo. It matters not the texture, the taste and the smell of the steak. You'll want to be like Neo. And there's only one way to do that. And that's to transcend the limitations of the mind and the ego and the spirit. Because they are all one. Whether they be in the physical or the non-physical. It's all the same thing. Only conscious awareness can free you from those limitations. Only conscious awareness can free you from those limitations. And if you're not consciously aware, then you're a slave to the system, you're a slave to your mind, slave to the ego. In that conversation with Anoush the other day, we were talking about monarch mind control and this, that and the other, and he sent me the picture that you see there of Andrew Tate. So I typed in Tate to my online etymology dictionary, and you type that in and press search and it comes up with tit. But in the which is a noun, and in there you will see Tate, and was used figuratively, source of spiritual nourishment, also as an object of erotic attraction. Look it up for yourself. He's another one of these that are controlled by the spirit. I'm not. I used to be. I used to think I had an understanding of spirit. With quite some ego as well. But it wasn't till I started to become consciously aware that I really started to understand what the spirit is. And going back to what I said at the beginning, towards the beginning, about spiritual gifts and whatever, and I've said this so many times before, and I don't tire of repeating it. And I do it not for you to think, oh, you're a lovely bloke, whatever. It's to empower, enlighten and enable you Look, I've never charged to personally profit or gain materially from using my spiritual gifts and awarenesses. Not like some people that charge for circles, for readings, for healing and anything else that they can make a buck off. And as I said before, I was married for 20 years, brought up 2 children. They said, we had a roof over our head, clothes on our back, food in our belly. And I say, the universe has always provided for me and my needs and my family's needs. Spirit will provide your wants and your desires and whatever. So choose wisely. Choose wisely how you walk. Choose wisely how you talk. I don't seek to be any better than you. I'm not perfect. What I do though, what I am about is seeking perfection. And I look to where I can find perfection. And I often see it outside of me. In nature. You can only find perfection in nature. And when you are in your natural state of being, you'll find that perfection within you. Because you're being natural. Think about what you're hearing here. Think about what I'm saying. And let's make a difference. Let's make a difference to the self, first and foremost. And then let's, with that new awareness of the self, project it outside of us to enlighten, empower, and enable our fellow man. To err is to be human. To err means to question. So, as a human, you've got to question. And if you do question, that's when you become man, or start to become man. That's the difference between humans and you as you should be in your natural state, mankind. Question by all means. And don't stop questioning. Don't think you've ever reached a point like I did nearly 40 years ago when I stumbled across spiritualism in the way that I did. Don't think that you will ever have all the answers. I thought I did nearly 40 odd years ago. I thought spiritualism would provide me with all the answers I ever needed. It doesn't. And it never will. When it's used correctly, it can be a guide by any standards, it can be a guide. But until you can transcend the spirit, after you've transcended the mind and the ego, you'll never become consciously awakened or aware. And you'll forever be reaching out for things in the flesh, things in the spirit, or things like the fifth dimensional ascension. Whoopee-doo. Lovely. Part of the journey, I suppose. But if that's your target, you'll reach it. But rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, it's not your destination. It ain't your destination. If this message resonates, share the message. Don't share me, share the message. Wherever you are, visit my BitChute channel. linked in the description box underneath. And have a look at all the messages that I've shared over the last 4 years or so to empower, enlighten and enable others, because that which I speak of has done that for me and continues to do that for me. And I don't keep it to myself. I don't sell it. I don't want you to buy cups, hats, t-shirts, books, DVDs or but knows what else. Don't want you to think you owe me anything. You owe it to yourself to pay attention. We all do. Plamia, thank you. In Lakesh, in you I see another me. Mitako o Yasin. We are all related, we are all relatives. But I tell you today, and I always tell you, black, white, yellow, red, gay, straight, draconian, reptoid, reptilian, draconian, you name it, Palladian, we're all connected.